You can see where the first floor was. Above your heads, those of you in those back rows, was the hayloft. Where you are sitting were horse stalls and tiling into a gully to take the drainage. And upstairs at the back, where we put the circle, was the little house that the footman lived in. Downstairs at the back was the carriage room, and the same in the transept at this end of the building. If you look upwards, you're looking into the lights, I know, but you can see the oak timbers. They're original. They're back to 1746. And I explained to you outside, we had to take all the tiles off and put all the small timbers on. We were able to keep the old original oak. Basically, the design of the theatre was very simple. As I said outside, we took one transept, the north transept, and made it the foyer, coffee bar, toilets, box office. The other one a stage, and the narrow neck in between became the auditorium. The acoustics, thank God, and I mean that literally, are perfect, and it was an absolute accident. When we originally designed it, it was intended to leave the wooden supports of the tiles, the rafters, up in the roof, exposed. But we ran into central heating problems because as fast as we heated the building, all the air went straight up there and out through the roof. And so we had to put a false ceiling in. And as soon as that false ceiling went in, suddenly the acoustics became perfect. And they are. Singers, pianists, fiddle players, actors have all been here, professional artists. And they all say how beautiful the acoustics are. You can stand right at the back of the stage with your head away from the audience and whisper and still be heard right at the back of the auditorium if you know how to do it properly. You don't have to shout. I was telling this story, as I am now, some months ago, and saying how perfect the acoustics were, and a very elderly lady sitting there, within 3 feet of me, said, "I beg your pardon, I didn't catch what you said." Turned out she hadn't put her hearing aid on. Just a little story about how we did it, raising the money. We did nearly everything you can think of, you know. We had all the usual things, coffee mornings and things. We got a grant from the Ministry of Public Buildings and Works because we were restoring an ancient building. We got a grant from the Old Hastings Preservation Society, which is why we are ever grateful to them and why we open the building during their week, show all their friends over. And I may say at the end of the tour, shake a collecting box under your nose, not for us, but for them, because there wouldn't be any theatre if it hadn't been for them. We did A Midsummer Night's Dream in the open air. I'll never do it again. We played A Midsummer Night's Dream for a week in Linton Gardens. I don't think the temperature ever got up about 40. We all had to change in tents. And I do remember that I played the part of that fellow who's the father of these two girls who keep rushing off in the wood and having rows with these two chaps. You know? I don't remember much of the plot. What I do know about him, I think his name was Philostrate, is he comes on at 7:30 and he's off by 7:33 and he doesn't come on again until 10:26. And I spent a very cold, wet week sitting on a box dressed in a long white nightshirt with a pair of sandals. It was a very successful production and everybody loved it. Nice setting, Linton Gardens, a lovely natural amphitheatre there. And all we really had trouble with were the diesel trains coming in every half an hour, drowning Shakespeare's word, children playing tennis a few feet below us, and seagulls, of course. And I think of the three, probably the seagulls were the most nuisance of all. We also decided that we'd run a jumble sale. Everybody's going to raise money besides have a jumble sale, but we thought we'd have the largest jumble sale in Europe, not just muck about. So we begged goods from all our friends and relations and neighbours for about 6 months. We took the White Rock Pavilion, got all the seats of it stripped out, had lots of barras and trestle tables and things, all dressed up as costers, Pearly King and Queen from southwest London, come down a Napoleon trap to open it. We called it the Caledonian Market, and we on a Saturday in February, and we filled this place with all this stuff that people had given us, and we sold there from 11 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon and made £1,000. That's the way to run a jumble sale. It's become so much a part of the town life that we have to have a Caledonian Market every year now at the White Rock Pavilion, whether we need the money or not, because everybody likes to have the Caledonian Market, and besides I think it keeps most of the local antique shops going. The But there you are. You sat inside the theatre for 5 minutes, which I think is long enough for having a short tour. Perhaps now you'd like to come up onto the stage and see what happens on the stage. Now, you will understand that this was a theatre built by actors. What we wanted was the largest possible area for stage and for foyer and cloakrooms and so on, and anything that remained could do for the audience. Other local authorities build theatres for audiences, and then the stage is never any good. However, you can see what it was that attracted us to the building as a stage, because of the height that we could use. What you must have, I don't know if there's anybody here who's technically interested or knows anything about stages. If so, will you please keep quiet, because I probably say all the wrong things. But you must have, above what we call the proscenium arch, which is there, enough height to hang up the scenery and the lighting equipment that you need to use in staging the play. And that area above there is called the Flies. And that fly gallery is the area where John Pryor is standing. John, I may say, has been sort of resident stage manager down here for about 12 years now, haven't you, John? And the ropes that you can see go up into the Flies on pulleys, right across the stage and back. And they serve two purposes. John is going to lower a batten down upon which one could put, it's all right, it won't hurt you, upon which one could put a piece of scenery or some lighting equipment or some curtains, and then when you want to change the set, it's whisked away up into nowhere, do you see? In real professional theatres, that's done by pressing an electric button and a counterweight system operates. Here, I say, it's whisked away up, and John has to pull like hell on those ropes. Sometimes with these very heavy ones, with the lanterns on, it takes about 4 men to haul them up. The ropes that you see there, not the very new ones, which look so obviously new, but the older, greyer ones, all the ropes for the Flies were given us by the fishermen of Hastings in 1958 as their contribution to the conversion of the building into a theatre, which I think was rather generous. Now it's interesting to see, perhaps, I hope you will find it interesting to see how a stage is lighted. Now, up in the corner of the Fly Gallery, where John has just disappeared to, is a very valuable piece of equipment called a switchboard, which cost us about £2,500 5 years ago. We didn't have that yet when we first converted to theatre. But with that switchboard, wired up as it is, with the lighting equipment that we have got, we can do some quite interesting lighting on this stage, certainly better than one can do anywhere else in the town. And until they built the Congress Theatre at Eastbourne a few years ago, this was the best equipped stage between Margate and Brighton. The stage is lighted from the front of the house, as we call it, FOH, and from lighting on the stage. At the present moment, we're standing in what are called the working lights. But let's start by having the front of house spots on one by one. Can we, John? That's how dark it can be. Now, do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop there, John. Oh, 9. That's a new one. I haven't seen that one. That's the new piece of wiring. It's always being added to. The house curtains are worth a word. They were given to us by the local operatic society, known as the Haslians. They are also amateur theatrical people, but they don't perform in this theatre because they've a great big company of singers and dancers, and they do 2 shows a year at the White Rock Pavilion. And they were doing Oklahoma the year that we were building this theatre, and they said they would present us with the house curtains. And they came out of the profits of Oklahoma. Now, there are 3 sorts of house curtains. Not yet, John. 3 sorts of house curtains. You've been in theatres before. There are those house curtains that go up from the stage like that, so that the actors have to begin to act with their feet and then work themselves up through their knees, through their middles, till you get to their face. Or there are curtains that come across like this, so that the actor standing in the centre of the stage has to go on acting about 4 seconds after everybody else has finished because they've all been closed off. But a proper theatre curtain does neither of those things. It tumbles. That's the way to finish a play. And that's how the curtains operate at the Royal Opera House at Covent Garden, and that's how they operate at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, and that's how you'll find they operate in most of the best old theatres in the country. The lighting is interesting to tell you, I think, a little. We begged most of it from old theatres that were closing. At the time in '59 when we opened, there were theatres all over the country closing down, and we were told that we could have anything we wanted if we take a truck and bring it away. And initially, the lighting that was hung up here was very old stuff, like that dear old fellow in the middle there, which we call the bomb. And they were nearly all like that. But I'm glad to say that over the 16 years, we've been able to progress and get rid of most of the old lanterns and have these very nice modern lanterns that you can see hanging up. There's two perfect examples next door to the bomb, each side. And there's no advertising on this program, but we get those from Green Shield stamps. 19 books of Green Shield stamps will get you one of those gorgeous spotlights. And we've asked all our members over the years to save their Green Shield stamps and put them in a box in the foyer. And over the years, we've lighted the whole of the front of the house, and most of these 2 battens now with new spots, simply from Green Shield stamps. So if during the rest of your week in Hastings you get any Green Shield stamps, would you bring them down and put them in our box, because we've got 1 or 2 more lanterns we want to replace. Talking of closing theatres, I must mention one piece which I usually tell in the auditorium.